Okay, welcome everyone. We are starting our first lecture today, Module 1. So, as I mentioned before, we have 8 modules in this course. So, week 1, technically, week 1 of teaching, but technically we are week 2. So, we are going through the Module 1. We are finishing the Module 1. So, Module 1 is more like an introductory level for us in order to understand what we are going to have in the next, technically, 14 weeks from now. So, the title, Database for Innovation-Rich Connected World. So in one word, if you want to talk about the module 1, we are trying to have some understanding about what is data and what is the database in general. And just one question, do you hear me well in the back? Do you hear me well in the back? No, you can't? So would you mind if you sit in the front row if you have issue with my voice? I'll try to talk louder. So for this chapter, what we are going to work, we are going to first start by identifying some large database in general, some available and published database that we have, just try to make a better understanding of each of them. And then we are going to talk about the reason that we need to have a database. What's the main reason? What's the main reason, main purpose that we have to create a database? And then after that, we are going to talk about the features of the database, attributes, database schema, relationship. We just talked a little last week about the different type of attributes that each entity could have, and also the relationship. So today we are going to go more through those. And after that, we will talk about this part is going to be probably by Wednesday, online analytical processing, online transactional processing. Each of these, again, they are very, very rich concept to go through, and but definitely we will just go through the shallow level of each of these concepts, because again, each of them could be a absolutely different course, even in the graduate level. For example, data warehousing or data mining. Have you ever heard about this concept, data warehousing, data mining? So I think we have some data mining in the undergrad level, but for sure in the master level, they are very, very great courses to take. So again, each of them considered as a totally different course. What we are dealing in this course, just going through them, give you some understanding about each of these. But again, the main job that we are here to understand the data, to create a database, to know how we can ask by SQL some question from a database, and so on. So that's the main job that we are dealing with this course. So in our normal life, when we go, I don't know, to gym, when we go to library, when you are here, so you are dealing with some physical components. Now you are working with your pen, writing on the paper. It's a physical. When you go to the gym, you are dealing with the dumbbells. It's a totally physical. So you are seeing them, okay? But we usually rarely think about the structure of some software that we are working, the structure of some website that we are dealing. You go to Amazon website, all of you have been gone through the Amazon, purchased a lot of materials, but maybe just some of you already thought, what's going on, how this system works. So that's why we need to go through the database, because all of them are designed based on the databases. So the data itself, it's exactly a simple analogy, is just exactly like a blood in a vessel of the businesses. So if the data doesn't exist, the business doesn't exist. So when data exists, so we have to create some system to manage the database, to manage the data, to create some database. So how those data created, how people been through the system, been through the different type of level to understand that data, to create that data, that's another level. We are at this point, we are assuming that data is already there. Our job is to create some database, to create some area for managing all of this data in order to process later, in order to analyze later. Okay, so the reason I asked last session about the system analysis and design course, that just I think 2 of you have been through that course. So over there, you have better understanding how this data is generating. By, as I mentioned, for example, there is one concept or the DFT, data flow diagram. So for example, when some organization, they want to establish it, let's imagine from the scratch, there are couple of people that would go through each department, would talk with them, interview with them with a different type of methodology over there. That's totally different level of course. And then after that, after maybe a couple of months, they will realize, okay, how data flows in those departments. That's why they call it DFT over there. So the data flow diagram. And then after that, they will come and understand, okay, this data is related to this feature. Like the example I had last week, the book, those attributes, that's their job, to understand different parts of each business, what type of feature each department has. I don't know, is it a sales department? Okay, these are the specific features of the sales department. Is it the, I don't know, warehousing department? These are the features. Is it the marketing department? These are the features. And then how these data connect together. Okay, that's, again, another different topic. But for our class, we are assuming all of these already has been done. We know about the entity of the organization. We know about the feature of the organization. We know that book. We know that customer. We know that, I don't know, different database. We know that movies. We know that director. We know this movies has these features. This director has this feature. How they are connected. That's our job to, again, create a database based on the available data sets. And then also another job that we are going to have in this course is to try to understand how we can ask questions, how we can ask queries from the database. Okay, that's our job in this course. And you will see by, again, end of this semester, you will definitely, you can claim that you have tools in your hand. One of the tools that definitely is going to be very helpful for you is a SQL. We will talk about it. Just by 3 different tools, you can claim that you are a data analyst. SQL, Excel, Tableau, or Power BI. We will talk about them. But again, just with your technically learning one of them in this class. And to be honest with you, you are gonna, even though it's intermediate level, but it's more than enough for you when you're starting a job. For sure, always having experience in the real world job market is totally different. I understand. But one of the good points of the SQL, we were talking with your classmate last week, it's different from the other programming tools. Python, you can never say that I know Python 100%. Because there are always a lot of things that you have no idea about. But SQL is a little different. SQL, the syntax, all the functions are limited. It's not that much. So if you just understand the data, if you understand the nature of the database, you can do whatever you want by creating database and also by asking questions from different type of database. So again, that's the part that database, it's always one of the most an essential part of each business. Imagine I am running a $100 million company, selling 10 items, very limited. To all 58 states in the United States and also some countries in Europe, I have a lot of agents over there that they're doing marketing for me. We have to also maybe creating some of those products, not just by selling them. So all of these, it means I am generating data. I have data. If I don't have a knowledge to understand this data, if I don't have a skill to set up a database, set up a system for managing all of this data, you can guess how it's going to be chaotic to run this type of business. You right now in this course, for example, you just need to go through, let's imagine, 8 different PowerPoints for the final exam, 1 book, and just read and take the test. And imagine just you don't have the good, I would say, resource management to have download all the documents and go for the final exam. Just for example, having 2 PowerPoint, 2 files for the final exam and go for the final exam, you're going to be in trouble. Now, in the bigger scale, Amazon, if Amazon doesn't have a good database, what would happen? At the same time, hundreds, thousands of people are going to Amazon trying to order exactly this mouse. And what would happen if they don't have a good database system to definitely, I purchased this one, to at the second try to remove this one from the inventory in order to not having issue for the next order. So that's what we call it online transaction processing, because there are transactions per second that happening. We will learn about those again in a not very that much higher level, but that's how the database matters for us. Database technically is the one of the most fundamental base of each business. If you don't have database, you are done, because technically you cannot understand what you are doing. By having a good database, by having an organized database, you will understand what you are doing. You will have some knowledge that what you have done in the last 5 years in your business. If you don't have an organized one, you are going to be in trouble. Okay? One of the things that, as we have here, the only times that maybe we are hearing about data is about the data breaches. We have heard it a lot. I don't know. AT&T, there was a data cyber attack to the AT&T, and a lot of customer information is gone. I mean, not gone. I mean, breached to the public or something like that. So that's the only way that we are hearing database. But again, in this course, we are definitely connected to the database and we are trying to understand. So technically, by the nature of the area that we are living, each of us have a phone in hand. On the background right now, all the 5G stops is generating, it's going to the system. I am receiving SMS right now. I am trying to, at the point maybe the system itself is getting updated. So I'm downloading information in the background. You, at this point, trying to maybe reading the PDF from your machine. We are recording at this point, this meeting. I'm going to upload it for you later. So what we are all doing at the same time, we are just generating data. At the same time, we are using the data. So data is technically whatever we need to know, we have to go through the database. Otherwise, we don't have any idea what's going on around us. Okay, so that's why we have the concept of the big data, which is again another course probably in the master level, or I don't know if you have it like an introduction to the big data. But again, because of these three features, pervasive connectivity, universal mobility, and abundant information, those first two, whenever we are going right now these days, we have internet. And also we have a mobile device. I mean, whatever device that we can carry with ourselves. These two definitely generating billions or trillions of data daily, even just from a couple of hundred people. So that's why it is so important. When you go to the Amazon again, you are dealing with the database. Otherwise, you wouldn't purchase. You couldn't purchase item from the Amazon if you don't have a database. Have you ever heard about the Stack Overflow website? Okay, maybe nowadays people don't use it that much, but still I myself use it. So it's let's say it's like a social media. It's not a social media. It's like a social media for the programmer. So whenever you before ChatGPT, that's what I always using that one. Whenever you're doing coding, you will have some issue always. And definitely at least one person in this world exactly have the same issue that you have, without any doubt. That's why those people would go to the Stack Overflow, type their question, ask their question, and other people are coming and answer. So technically, I myself, when I go to Stack Overflow, I am creating data. Okay? Some people are coming answer. Again, that person is also creating data. Okay? The whole system again is managing based on the database. So everything we are dealing these days, everything is based on the data. Why? Because technically, because we are living in digitalized world. We are not 300 years ago that nothing was there. Everything right now is based on the data. Example, maybe one of the most famous example was the Wikipedia, which I think people are not using that much these days, but that's one of the also area that people would put information there. Any questions so far? Any type of website that you are using and you would like to, for example, share with your classmate that you are amazed by the way that they are working, and then we can going through the website and try to see how that one works. Any example? What? Instagram. Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you think Instagram that work, the database? What type of data they are generating? What type of data they are collecting? That's to answer that's our end of the session classwork. But yes, ChatGPT, definitely. That one is at this point, I would say, is one of the mysterious things that I myself try to understand. I still couldn't understand what's happening to whatever data that we are sharing with ChatGPT. We are sharing, I am sharing most personal things that I have in my life. And that's why people nowadays, there's news out that don't share your personal stuff because they can use it in, I don't know, in the court against you if they have to. Okay, I don't know. For example, if you're doing some bad stuff, don't ask ChatGPT for how can I don't want to record this one. But the point is, yeah, ChatGPT is another thing that's still technically all the, you know, what is the LLM? Am I right? Large language model. All of these are based on a large language model. So technically, ChatGPT is not God. I mean, all these LLM are created based on the, again, data, based on the trillions of elements that are available, and they put it in the LLM, then train it based on the whatever machine learning technique that's there. So you are using data to create the ChatGPT model, all the generative AI models. But at the same time, you are putting data there as well. That's why there is a one concept, reinforcing loop. Have you ever heard about it? Reinforcing loop. So all these LLM model, especially the ChatGPT parser, there is a reinforcing loop in there, which means it's training itself according to the updates that we are giving, according to the data that we are giving. Those bottoms up, bottoms down, thumbs up, thumbs down to that we see. If we are thumbs up to the whatever result to give us, technically we are confirming, okay, the result that you are giving us is good one. Okay. If some person that has never asked any question from the ChatGPT about the R, one of the program language, okay, ask something from that ChatGPT in comparison with me, that I am using ChatGPT for 2 years and ask thousands of R questions. Technically, that one from my side is generating a better answer. So ChatGPT, all this generative stuff, generative AI stuff, yeah, also and other things that's I myself, I don't have knowledge enough how they are managing this data. Again, where these data are stored at this point. For sure, there are cloud server, but again, it's different. It's totally different. But yeah, that's one is amazing one. So there are always a lot of public data set available. For example, the one of them that I really like is the Federal Reserve economic data. So let me just open it. So again, this is all the data that's already available for free. And you can, based on the job that you're doing, you can ask, for example, imagine the unemployment rate. So you can see the information from 1950. And this is amazing. I mean, they have all the information from almost 75 years ago, and they are creating it. And technically, they are visualizing it. Again, visualization is not a thing that we are learning in this course. No, we are not going to learn visualization. But as I mentioned, by having the SQL knowledge, Excel knowledge, and Power BI or Tableau. Have you ever heard about the Tableau? Yeah, that's also another good software for visualization. Just by these three, technically, you can claim that you're a data analyst. Okay. One level higher with more tools, you can claim you are data scientist. So I am assuming, again, we have some person that don't have any idea what's the data scientist versus data analyst. Do you know what's the difference between these two? Data scientist and data analyst? This is not related to our course, just some general information, because maybe you're going to be in that position. Data analyst and data scientist. Do you have any idea which one has a higher pay? Why data scientist? Because it's a science. Hmm? Yes. Yeah, for sure data scientist, but why? By why, I mean, what's the difference between these two? Not why. It's there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Both correct. So by data analysis, exactly, by data analysis, what the data analysis do, it's going through the data to understand what's happening, okay? And show what's happened. This data is available. The unemployment rate since 1950, data analysts would go through the data with the knowledge that they know. They're going to create this graph for us, okay? But data analysts, data scientists, it's one level higher. First, they use the food that data analysts will give them, okay? And then the main job that data scientists do, technically, they are predicting. They are finding patterns to predicting future. That's why their job is valuable. Future prediction is out of probability. There is no certain answer for the future. Probability, which means you need to know a statistic. So that's why, as a data scientist, you have to be very, very master in the statistic. You need to all about all the probabilistic stuff, probability model. So technically, data analysts, again, just go through the data, what's happening, exploring, and give some understandable result to the people. But data scientists, they are predicting this company in the next 5 years is gonna, for example, sell this amount of cars for this amount of time, this period of time, from 5 years from now. That's the job data analyst. And for sure, as I mentioned again, it's a probability. So definitely they have error. Otherwise, they would predict the future and they would be billionaire at the moment. But again, that's the difference between these two. And as an outcome of our school, I would say data analyst and maybe next step data scientist is the one of those feasible job for you. Again, depends on what you like. But these two are really available, especially right now, a good data scientist, a senior data scientist, easily they can make 200K per year, easily, without any doubt. For sure, not just for the entry level, but after a couple of years in that business, you will have. And maybe you would have a question, okay, now AI is doing all this analysis and stuff. So what we do? Again, at this point, we are talking, still, even though AI is there, it can do analysis, especially data analyst part right now is some situation. But at the end of the day, it still is the human that make a decision. For sure, you can use the data, AI models, to have it as an assistant without any doubt. And you should have it. If you don't have it, you are foolish. You should have it. You have to do it. It is there for us. But again, at the end of the day, the decision is with the human. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. But again, using these AI tools in those jobs, I would say it's still is a great potential. Just do the job easier, faster, and better. Why not? or some type of we go to different websites, download, purchase. Again, we are dealing with data, but this data is not just about the person to business. Sometimes it's about the business to business. So, for example, Apple or Android, doesn't matter. There is a stock program, a stock application there. So if you go to the stock, you can check all the financial stuff. So technically, Apple itself, Samsung itself, Android mobile itself, they don't generate this type of stock stuff. They are collecting that data from another source through API. Again, this is the last time that you're going to hear API in this course. Today, we are understanding the general knowledge about data. Next week, we'll start SQL coding. But have you ever heard about the API? Application Programming Interface or Program Interface. You have not? API? No, no. So my personal experience. During my PhD, I had to do on some research papers in order to defend. The project that I had, are you in the cryptocurrency world? Are you into the cryptocurrency world? You know some stuff? Okay. Have you ever heard about the FTX cryptocurrency exchange store? Like a Coinbase, like a Binance. FTX late 22, they technically claim that they are getting hacked and the exchange store get bankrupt. So the owner, Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy from $15 billion of money, went to zero in less than a week. Okay, so it doesn't matter. The point is, I, as a researcher in the IF, I wanted to know what's happening there. That's why I went to Twitter back then, which before X, and downloaded 300,000 tweets of the people in that area, in that period of time, November and December 22, to do machine learning techniques to understand what people think about it and try to find some pattern. That's type of data scientist job. But the point is, I couldn't go to Twitter and download it. There's no possible way. All I can do is going through the API system. API system, it means that X, the former Twitter, whatever company, if they want to let you to collect their data, they will give you some keys, some personal key. And with those, for example, five different or 4 different level of keys, you can collect data from their websites through the R, Python, whatever programming language. So technically, you are asking query with those keys that specially created for you, okay? So that's how the API system works. If you are right now want to go through the Amazon and download some data from it, technically you cannot because they don't let. But again, right now, and what's the reason of this API? Nowadays, it's getting more. They are selling it. Right now, X API, I think just for downloading 1,000 tweets or 10,000 tweets per month, you have to pay, I don't know, $200, $300 per month, something like that. So that's a type of business. Again, when data is generating, data is business. If I can produce good amount of data, good quality data, I can sell it. So weather.com is predicting the weather, okay? So you can have information. But when Apple or Samsung, whenever they want to put it in their weather app, Apple doesn't have a weather section to predict the weather. It's useless. It's useless. So they can just use their API to collect data from them. Okay, that's how the data system, the API system works. So I think it's worth to just watch this couple of 4 or 5 minutes video to understand the data, to understand the API. At least just one.
In tech or in anything adjacent to tech, you've probably heard the abbreviation API being thrown around. So let's talk about APIs. What are they and why do we need them? Let's start with what is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. Fancy words, so let's break it down. Application in this context just means any software that has a specific functionality or purpose. Interface refers to a contract or a protocol that dictates how two applications talk to each other using requests and responses. So put together, an API is simply a way for different systems or applications to communicate with each other. Okay, cool in theory. So why do we need APIs? Let's start with a non-technical analogy first. Let's say you have a dinner reservation for tonight for 3 people, but you want to change it to 6 because some friends decided to join you at the last minute. So you call the restaurant, ask them if it's possible to do that, and the customer service person puts you on hold. Takes a minute, but they finally come back and they say, yes. Simple. You called someone, made a request, and you got a response, yes or no. Now, let's say that there was no customer service person and that it was up to you to figure out how many people have made reservations for the same time at this restaurant. How many tables do they have free at that time? What's their kitchen capacity? What's their wait staff capacity? All to figure out whether you can add 3 more people to your reservation. That's a lot of unnecessary work on your part. Work that you, the customer, have no expertise in. It means that the restaurant has to reveal a lot of data to you, maybe even private data. Who's eating there that night, and who works there, etc. In this analogy, the restaurant is an application that provides a specific service or function, which is to feed you. You are an application that is trying to get fed with a group of friends. The customer service rep from the restaurant is the restaurant's API. That is the interface through which you can communicate with the restaurant and make requests like changing the number on a reservation. And you can do that without having to dive into the messy details about how restaurant reservations work or anything like that. For a more technical example now, think about Apple's weather app. Do we think that Apple decided to set up weather monitoring stations around the world? That's a really expensive endeavor, and if it was super critical to Apple's business model, then maybe, sure, we could see that happening. But there are already services out there that meticulously collect global weather data, services like weather.com. So if weather.com creates an API through which anybody can access their data, but only in the ways that weather.com allows, then Apple could just use that API to populate their weather app. So how do APIs actually work? Let's use the example of web APIs, which are the type of APIs that...
It's getting a little going into details. But yeah, that's how, again, for creating database, for having answer from different database, there is also another tool that we call as API. So again, all of these are there for a reason, just because of the data. Data is valuable. If you have a good data and if you have a knowledge to use the data, you will definitely be rich. Imagine, again, you are into the cryptocurrency market, stock market, whatever, and you have all the information, previous price, stock, everything. You have everything. If you have a knowledge how to use it, you can definitely make money in this market, like a lot of people. For sure, you will lose something, but at the end of the day, if you have a knowledge, if you have a skill, you are gonna make it, especially when you have it enough data. So what we are gonna understand is about the structure of this database. So every database has 3 levels: database schema, attribute, relationship. So technically, the structure and the organization of a database, because the database schema, we will see. The attributes is about the feature of whatever entity, whatever object that we are talking about, okay? Last week, we talked about the book and the customer that can go to the library and, I don't know, borrow some book. Let's imagine in the academic market that we are in. I, as a faculty here, I consider as a one entity, as a one thing, just one thing. It doesn't matter, one thing. You, as a student, you are also considered as an entity, as another thing in this system. We are dealing together, okay? What are the features about the faculty? Like the book that we discussed. What type of features? What type of unique things that you can talk about me right now at this point? Give me some specific feature, specific attribute, a specific thing that you can describe. Sorry? The class that I teach, what type of class I'm teaching? Sorry? The type of class that I'm teaching, yeah, that's one of them. Another one. How you can describe me? Beside that I'm handsome. Next. Sorry? How you can describe me? Okay, teacher is my job title. Yes, assistant professor is my job title. I have a name. I have an office. I have a, as I mentioned, title. I have a room in the business building. So these are all the features that is describing me as a faculty here. Okay, I have PhD in this. So these are all the things. So technically, all of these, as I mentioned, considered as an attribute, as a feature. Attribute maybe is a fancy feature. The feature of things, the things that we can describe. We will see later that each entity, we will see later, not right now, each entity should have a unique identifier. Otherwise, you cannot define it between this entity and that other entity. We call it as a key. We will talk about primary key. We will talk about it later. You as a student, what type of feature you have? A student ID, email, name, classes that you are taking this semester, okay, address, SSN, phone number. These are all the things that describing you in this system. You have your personal relationship, but the point is that one doesn't matter in the academic system. So what I'm trying to tell you, those useful information matters. Depends on the different context. If you are going to a personal relationship with someone else, other question matters, other things would describe you, okay? So that's why the system that you are considering, the context that you are in, according to that one, you have to define it, okay? If you go to the doctor, visit the doctor, they don't care which course you are taking this at this time. They care about your, I don't know, blood type. They care about your, I don't know, blood sugar level. But at the school, in this concept, this one doesn't matter, okay? So again, based on the different database, the attributes are different. This is so important. Try to understand it and digest it now. One more time. Based on the context you are, based on the system you are, based on the, not you, whatever entity, based on the database that there are there, those attributes could be different. Another, again, the same example. You, in this class, it matters which class you are taking. When you go to the doctor, it matters what's your blood type. So you are the same entity, but in a different context. You are the same thing in a different database. In this database, that one matters. In that database, the other one matters. So that's how. And then going to the relationship that we can have together as an entity, as a team. I can have many classes to teach, okay? You, as a student, can have also the many classes to take. So that's also a relationship. Or you can work with many faculties, like the one that you are working right now. You have 2, 3, 4 classes probably. I can have also with many students. So again, there is a relationship between these two things, these two entities, these two tables. Faculty table, a student table, faculty entity, a student entity. There is a many-to-many relationship. We will talk about the relationship later in details. One-to-many, one-to-one, many-to-many, a lot of things. We will talk about it. But now we are trying to understand the general things about the database. Database have a lot of things in it, a lot of entity in it. And also each thing, each entity can have a lot of attributes, a lot of features. And these can be related together. Example that we have here. For example, just the one, the movie star. Each actor, actress, they have their own feature name, the type of movies that they played there. I don't know, a lot of things. At the same time, there is a movies. Each movies has director, has different type of actor, actors, and also, I don't know, people that work in their sound or all the features. So these are also could be connected. So that's a database. If you have some passion to create some database about the Hollywood, you have to go and see what type of things you can put in there. You have to consider one page, one table just for the actors. You have to put some table there just for directors. You have to put some table just for the different movies. And then try to find the connection between them. And that's why you are going to have something like this as a schema. This is the database schema. Again, each table, as you are seeing here, has different attributes. You can see a golden key next to each. We will talk about it. This is the primary key. We will talk about it later. So, and also you can find a relationship between each table as well. That's the job that some people have done it before. We don't care at this point who has done this. In the system analysis and design, you will learn how to create these. Again, those people that I mentioned, they go to the different department, do the interview, talk with people, ask about the features, and then they come with all of these features. For example, the incident location, what matters for us? The incident ID, country, state, area, location, that only matters for us. It doesn't matter in that incident location, there is a, I don't know, coffee shop over there or is not, there is not a coffee shop over there. It doesn't matter to me, okay? So that's why they have to, for sure, database should be very comprehensive, but at the same time, it should be as minimum as possible for the information, because it is easy to put 10 more items to this table. But are those useful? No. Does it matter in that specific location there is a, I don't know, bar? No, it doesn't matter to me. The only thing that matters for me is what's the country, state, area, location, something like that. That's it. So the database, again, matters to give you, let's say, I have an industrial engineering background, okay? Industrial engineering, what we learn to, with the minimum resource, do the highest profitability. That's what we call as optimization, okay? Database itself should be optimized. The minimum things, the maximum information, okay? For sure, necessary thing. So that's a database schema structure. And then what we are gonna deal with this table, we are gonna learn how we can ask questions from this database. First, we will go in that way, and then we will learn how we can create a database out of this picture. Simple, there's a function, create table. Create table. What are the features? One of them is incident ID, country, state, area, location. Put the incident ID primary key. What is the feature? Character, numeric. We will learn all of them, okay? But that's what we are gonna do through this semester. Unfortunately, again, I have to, I forget my, I have to remember bring my marker, but let me, again, any question? Are you, yes. That's the part that we stop the video. So technically, again, I myself didn't have that knowledge. The way I just downloaded the file, I put it there. Those 4 keys that Twitter gave me, okay, and then it asked me the website address, And then there are some library in Python and also in R that technically only you need to do is just know the library, put your keys over there, and through the computer stuff, it's gonna go through the website, connect to the website. For sure, for downloading the data, there should be a key download to open the door. Okay, that key is exactly the key that they gave me. So technically, that door knows that this key come from Hussein. He has the authority to download the data, and then it's gonna download data from the system. The details, honestly, I don't know about the details. So okay, so what is this? What is this? Numbers. You have no idea what is this number. What if I tell you this is the phone number? Now makes sense. What is this number? What if I tell you this is the cell phone number? You have more information. What if I tell you this is my phone number in Iran? You will have understanding of this is an international number. Okay. But I'm just telling you, the number itself doesn't have meaning. What gives it meaning to it? It's a label that you're putting on. That's what we call as information. The information itself, there are some data outside, words, I don't know, pictures, I don't know, numbers. As long as you don't define some label for it, there is no meaning for it. There is no reason to use it. Okay. So that's how you can find information. You technically you give label to the information in order to mean something. You give the meaning to the information. Okay. So that's how these just some random numbers at the end, it turns out this is the cell phone number for some people in out of the states country. Okay. So the point is that's how the information works. So technically, you yourself, based on the context, again, based on the context, you will have the information, you will give meaning. Mhm. Exactly. The request. That request exactly are the query that we are gonna write it. We are gonna learn it. How to write those requests, those queries. So technically, what happened here, there is a database system here. Again, this database again could be through database management system. It could be through different one. What we are gonna learn is MySQL. Okay. The post one that you mentioned is another one, just a technically similar, like MySQL, SQL, Oracle, those things. So we are gonna deal with the MySQL. As I mentioned, there is not that much difference for the coding. So also the data is here. What is the data? There is some person named Hossein Mohit. His checking account number is this. The amount of money is $1,000 in his account. That's the data. Okay. The database have all the information. What would happen? I go to the ATM, put my information there. It will send a request to the database that this person right now is asking for $100. It's gonna go and check through the system. If I have for sure over $100, the response back is yes, he has a $100 at least, so we can just give them the money. Okay. So what it happened through some queries, some request, we asked the database system, checked it, and when it checked and when they found there is a $100 available, when they gave the $100, what should they do? They should update the database from $1,000 to $900 in my account. Okay. So technically, again, one of the things that we're learning how we can also updating the database, how we can modify the database that currently we have, how we can input some information there, put some information there, how we can remove some of them, how we can edit, for example, customer ID 102, how we can edit his postal code in the system. We can just use it with the database, with the SQL coding, okay? We are learning a SQL system, but in a system that they are working, the person that's sitting behind the system, it just go through the software and just type Hossein 105. Okay, that postal code, I should change it and change it. But again, what's happening in the back is some SQL coding. Okay. We are not here to learning how to deal with the software. We are here to understand what's happening in the back with the SQL. For what? Because whenever we want to create some database, we have to that knowledge. There are some software that you can create a database without any SQL coding. Access. So technically by Access, you can just easily create a database. But again, Access itself is using the SQL coding for creating that database. So just the interface is different, okay? But again, here we are here just for this one. So the main reason that we are using this database system is for managing data. But at the same time, each database system having a lot of feature. Let's name some of them here. In each database, they're gonna give the definition to each data. So as I mentioned, those numbers, there was no they were meaningless. So we didn't know what are these. But when I said, okay, this is the phone number, this is the international phone number, this is the cell phone number. So what I did was just defining the data. Okay. So there is a library in the database that defining each column. For example, the first attribute, I don't know, first name, last name, I don't know, the amount of item that they sell per month. So it's going to define them. Okay. It's going to give us to manipulate the data. By manipulate the data, which means updating the data, deleting the data, inserting the data. This is the three function: insert, delete, update. We'll have it. Three exact function: insert, delete. One of the good points about the SQL, exactly you are reading a simple English from this table. I don't know where this condition is. Insert this, blah blah blah. it's easy. You will see, especially that some of you mentioned that you have worked Arduino SQL, so you can confirm what I'm saying. The data integrity, data security, one of the main, I would say, fundamental task of the database system is to make sure that your data is secure. A lot of people are actively working to make your data secure. And we can see that in the top level company with the most talented people there, still we are hearing the data breaches. If you search it, maybe just some big thing just happened a couple of weeks ago. So even though there are a lot of people that actively working to make data secure, still we can see the breaches is there. So there are hackers that always, so that's a battle. They do from this side, they do from that side. So, but again, that's one of the job from the database and all other functions that the database system have for us. So we will see when we go through the rest of them. So according to those knowledge, again, let's look one more time to this picture. It's gonna again give us more meaningful. Let's see. That what does it mean by the database approach? There's a software. Sometimes you go there, ask question. That software do SQL coding in the backside, ask question from database, updating the database, give you the results. Sometimes for us, like the one that we are here, technically we are kind of removing this one, and ourselves we are dealing with the database. Okay, so that's the difference. So you're almost done. Just very quick. I wanted to put it as like a classwork, but since especially for the second one, we talked about the like a Instagram or Instagram nation that you mentioned. So technically, what they collect the likes that we are doing. They collect comments. They collect photos. They collect videos. That's why we will see a little at the end of this chapter and also in module 8 about the data warehousing. We are in that area that we have different type of data. We have the videos, we have the images. So people, they are not just dealing with the text anymore. They are dealing with a different variety of data. So they have to analyze it. That's why we have it, we will talk Wednesday, online analytical processing. So they will try to analyze based on the available data, based on different type of data sets. In order to what? What are these, give me an answer. What are the reasons for doing all of this? What's the point of having this data? What's the point of analyzing this data?
Services.
Improve your services in order to what? Money, just money. It's just about it's just about the marketing. Okay. Now you all know it. If you now search in your Google Chrome, Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses, just in less than a couple of minutes, you are gonna see in your Instagram that shows the Meta Ray-Ban in your phone. What are these? These are cookies. Simple. They are connected to each other. When they see your search, automatic someone not sitting there and spying you. This is the system. It goes through your search, whatever you are doing, and again depends on the level that you are sharing the information. Okay, but usually it always happens for all of us. And then according to your search, it gives you the exact type of marketing that you are looking for. That's a new way of marketing, digitalization marketing that right now we have it. Okay, so that's the reason for all of this, again, just the marketing to make money. So for the first one, I wanted to ask for creating some simple database. Maybe we can do it by, again, next end of the next meeting. Try to, for yourself, between you, try to understand, create some database, different contexts, whatever you like. And the second one was supposed to try to understand how this system works. Again, for Instagram, as I mentioned, they collect these, and as output, they will give us the related, for example, videos that we are looking for always. We are scrolling, we are liking, or something like that. Okay. So, any question? No? Hey, stop missing. Stop recording. Okay, so welcome everyone to the second section. So we have started on the chapter 1. So I'm just gonna go through a very quick recap that what we have discussed on Monday, and then we'll continue today's session. So today we are gonna finish the chapter 1, and next week we will start chapter 2, which technically we are gonna start the very first step of the how to do the SQL coding by next week. So let's start. Okay, so regarding what we discussed on Monday, so we talked about the database in general, how database is important, how database as an analogy is like a, I don't know, blood in the vein of the whole system, in the whole body. So it's important for the whole businesses. If you have a business, depends on, it doesn't matter what's the size, big, small, or just huge enterprise, it doesn't matter. Always matters to have the database for your system. And as we mentioned that the database itself, again, because it's not visible and also maybe feasible for us, maybe we just sometimes ignore it. It's not look like we are going to the library and use the book. That one is feasible for us. But for the database, it's different. And we mentioned that the only time maybe we are hearing it is when there's a data breach in some big organization. So we mentioned that because of these two features, the pervasive connectivity and universal mobility, because wherever we are going, we have some devices with us that connected to the internet. And at the same time, we are just generating data second by second. That's why because of these two, we are living in the area that we have huge amount of data sets. And that's what we call it, because that reason we have a big data. So for sure, it's another thing. But because of those, again, because of this data, what we are going to learn in this course is to how to manage those databases and also how to create those databases. So we talked about some of the available data sets, sorry. For example, the Federal Reserve economic data that we checked it as an online available data for us. And we saw how the data is available from 1950 to 2025. So almost 75 years data is available there, and they just, yeah, the other door. Let's close that one. Is it closed? Oh, sorry. No worries. No worries. So the Federal Reserve data I was talking. So according to available data sets, they had a great visualization for us in order to understand data with just one look. And we mentioned that for the visualization, again, it's not the things that they are going to learn in this course, but as a data analyst, just the SQL skill, as I mentioned, Excel, and also one of the visualization software like a Tableau or Power BI, or even with the Python and R. So you will have a chance to be a data analyst in this market. And then we also learned about the API. So do you remember what was the API? Any of you just could explain very short what was the API? Yes. It could be through the different systems, or it also could be through the we as a user to the system. So we as a user, the example that we had was myself that collected the tweets from the Twitter to analyze the data through the Twitter API back then when it was the name Twitter. And for the business to business, we mentioned as an example, as much as maybe remember also in the video, for example, for the Apple weather.com. So they have a contract with each other. So Apple, through the API keys, collect, technically download the data from the weather.com and show it in the cell phone. So that's also considered as a data, as a API. So technically all of their exist just because of the databases. They have their own databases. These people, they have their own databases. So there's a kind of business. They sell the data to their people, to those people, and that's how the business also run. And then we started talking about the database structure. So we mentioned that every database structure has three features. One is database schema, about the structure and organization of the database. So you'll see in detail later. Then we talked about the attributes or features. So what was the attributes for our database? Just example of the thing, of the entity. As I mentioned, as an example, we had the students and faculty here. We mentioned each of us could be considered as a different thing, as a different entity. You as a different entity as a student, I as a different entity as a faculty. I have my own attributes, name, the degree, the courses I'm teaching. You as a student, you have your own attribute, your name, your email address, your student ID. So those are considered as an attribute. I mentioned that in a big organization, in huge enterprise. So it's a challenging task to go through each section, each department, and find the most appropriate attribute from them. As an example, we had this in this class. For example, you in this class, your blood type doesn't matter, even though the blood type is your attribute. But blood type here doesn't matter. And when you go visiting a doctor, for them, the class that you are taking doesn't matter as well. So we mentioned that the attributes depends on a different context, could be different. And also the relationship. Relationship also is the one of the most challenging part, especially in the enterprise, in the big organization, to see how these departments are working together. What are the relationship between these two? As an example, we had in this class, I as a faculty can teach many class, you as a student can have many class as well. So there is a many-to-many relationship between those. Again, we will talk in details about each of them later. So that's three features that we need to know whenever we are going to deal with a database. As an example, we had this one for the insurance company that you see just a very simple. So as an example, we had this incident location. Again, the number of attributes we would like to have as minimum as possible, but at the same time, as much as informative as much as possible. It should be definitely explain that entity. We mentioned that for this one, for the incident location, it doesn't matter that if there is a, I don't know, a coffee shop over there in their street, but the location, the country, the state, area, location, those things that matters. So again, this is important. And that's why, maybe I forgot to say this one, this type of charts, every couple of, I don't know, months, years, they would go and recheck it to see if they are generating some unnecessary data or if they are missing some data. Because again, for the database, imagine for the Amazon in that level, if you have some extra attributes, for those technically you are collecting extra data, which means you are saving extra information. You are technically occupying some storage of your data set. Okay, so that's why it's important to exactly have as much as you need, not any extra information. And then we talked about the information. As an example, I mentioned about the numbers that I mentioned. Those numbers at the first stage is just the numbers. And then I mentioned that this is the phone number. And then this is a cell phone number. This is the international cell phone number. So by adding labels, we found that technically we are creating information by adding labels and categorizing it, okay? And then we talked about the database. Each database has three features: the data, the database management system itself, and also the software. And as an example for this, what was the example we used for this one? You remember? I go to the ATM and try to ask money. So that's a software I'm dealing with, request for $100. That one would send some request to the database system. The database language is the structured query language, is a SQL, okay? And that one would go to the original data, check my checking account. If it has a $100, take the money, updating the database itself and then give me the money. And again, that process also for the response is going through the SQL. And then we talked about the different functions of the database. The definition for each data matters, for each attribute matters. The data manipulation, as I mentioned, inserting, updating, deleting the data matters. We will see, excuse me, this function. And also the data security, data integrity. It matters for us a lot, especially when, for example, a couple of people at the same time are dealing with the database. It matters for us that they are all in the same page. I don't want to delete some data from some table that technically I shouldn't. So the data integrity matters. We will see later how this one could be challenging if you don't have a good database system. And that's why it depends on the place you are going to work, depends on the place that you are going to have the database. The database architecture is different. So that's a place that you're starting today's lecture. If you are dealing with your system, your laptop, and you are dealing with the, I don't know, access, the database system you are going to use is different. If you are dealing with one of those great, I don't know, companies in the 500 Fortune companies, so the way that they handle the database is different, okay? So that's why, again, we are gonna just a little learn about the different type of database architecture. Each of these, again, they are very, very detailed concept. And if you want to know about this, it's going to be totally different course. But here now we are just going to name them to understand something. Have you ever heard about the AWS, Amazon Web Services? Yes. So Amazon Web Services, technically, they're just cloud. Yes, there's a service that technically they offer to the businesses. Okay. Exactly as a type of cloud services, variety of services. The things that I wanted to mention, they have a lot of certification, okay? So if you are into this area and if you would like to have some good certification for your resume, one of the best one, which technically Amazon has a lot of certification. The entrance one, the main one, in order to unlock the rest for you is, have you know about that? Do you know about that? Have you ever heard about that? No? Cloud Practitioner, you haven't heard it? Yes, AWS Cloud Practitioner, okay? That one is the certification that when you take it, the rest of the certification will be unlocked for you to take. So that one is like an entrance key to the Amazon Web Services system. So again, that one is amazing certification to take if you're interested. So with that one, the next level is gonna be the other type of architectural level of the degree. So again, with those, if you're specialized with those, definitely you can just easily find some great job with the type of the architectural solution, something like that. Senior architectural solution. Right now, I have a friend that he works right now in Amazon as a senior architect solution. And he took all of this degree. He has also PhD in information system. He was professor for 9 years, and then he changed his career to Amazon, almost making double. But again, just because of those degree and the way that he was specialized in those degree, he could get the job. So that one, it's one of the great degree if you're looking for it. Check it. And it also it's not a very, I think, hard exam to take, and the price I think is $100 something for the certification. So back to our course. So the different types of database structure architecture. Then first, and maybe one of the oldest but still people using it is the mainframe, which a lot of US organizations, big companies are still using it, the largest banks in the US and also those 500 companies. So the way this one works, they have their mainframe computer inside their place. So technically, there is no cloud system here, okay? So they have the mainframe, the application, database management system, and data. They are all in the one mainframe. And the point is, rest of the machine in this system They are just working as a terminal. They call this sometimes as a dumb terminal because technically the system doesn't use their processing power. They are just available there in order to entering data. That's it. Whatever is happening, it's all on the system, on the mainframe system. It has a lot of advantage and also at the same time some disadvantage. As the advantage for it is for the large number of users that they can work at the same time, and also it can handle a lot of information. Okay, but disadvantage that it could has is again it doesn't use the processing power of those systems. Okay, so technically all the processing power is all related to the mainframe that they have, and also the hardware for this one is so expensive. But again, this is one of the great like a practice that the organization are doing safe for sure, because technically the way that any type of breaches for filtering to the system is almost impossible, because they are not connected to the internet for the internal task, and also again they are completely out of the cloud system. So I forgot to ask, and I'm asking right now. So any of you already working in any organization in whatever level, doesn't matter, that probably have already dealt with this stuff or have heard about the database, or maybe it's your job? Yeah, please share with us. Okay. Mm-hmm. So your role was monitoring it. Mhm. And do you have any idea what type of architectural system they used to have? Was it like a big scale? Mhm. Okay, so probably uh, like a file server, maybe we will talk about it. Any other experience you might have? You want to maybe share with us? No? Sure. The second one, which is the one that right now you have it in front of you, is a desktop version. So technically, the software, the database management system, application, they are all reside in your machine. As an example, especially for the Windows user, the Access software. When you're dealing with the Access, you are technically creating a database in your Windows machine. Okay. Some of you have Mac, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, generally, what I'm talking is just you are working on one system. For sure, the advantage is not that much expensive, so it's accessible. But at the same time, the limitation is just have for one single user, and also at the same time, each system could just be worked by one person, so we cannot use it by multiple persons. And for sure, it's just good for our personal use, not for the business use. But this one, the file server, is the one that technically uh, is, like, I don't want to say it's outdated, but it's not that much common. Just based on what you understood so far and what your current knowledge, do you think what type of issue this architecture had? What type of issue you think they might have when they are working in this type of system? Yes, that's the type of issue that you could have for all of them. Even for this one, client server, you could have for all of them. It's something related to the database management system. Yes. So the number of machine is enough. I mean, just here we just have 3 as an example. So as you see, for each machine, each person technically can work with the database management system directly. So there is a possibility to have the data integrity issue. There is a possibility that some people at the same time updated some part of the database, but the other guy in the other system, for example, did a different things, and there would be some conflict for it. Okay, so technically, right now, the only companies that they use this type of system are sometimes those like engineering companies that, for example, they are a group working on a plot, on a, I don't know, like a graph at the same time together, and each group is responsible for some part of it. So some part of it is going to work on it, then they're going to combine it. But in general, because multiple people are dealing with the database management system at the same time, there could be a conflict issue for, at the end of the day, merging all of the database system together. So again, inexpensive to purchase, easy to configure, but again, just multiple installation of the both application and database can lead a version to control issues for both. So that would be an issue for this one. So this one, the client server, and the next one, which is the web version, are the technically the best practice also people are using these days. So this one, technically similar to the previous one. The difference is the database management system and the data all reside in the main database server, and the rest of the team, they have their own application. What's the difference between this one and the mainframe? Mainframe was look like this. Also, application was here. But in this one, application is on the personal computer. As we mentioned in the data frame, those terminal, we call as a dumb terminal, the system doesn't use the processing power of those machines. But in this one, the system use the processing power on this machine as well. So technically, all the let's say CPU job that they have to do, it's not just on the one system. It's going to divide it between the whole system, and it's good for the large amount of users. Also handling a lot of data, and the issue that could have, the software is a little expensive for this one, and again, the processing power, using those processing power is one of the advantage of this system. But the last one, which is the best one, which is the one that right now we are using it, I'm just recording this lecture and just serving into the cloud system. Okay, so I assume that you all know what does it mean by cloud system. Yes, so cloud system technically is like a storage place that technically is not existed at this moment with us. It's with their server. We have a lot of cloud system, OneDrive here, we have Dropbox, we have, you know, Apple iCloud, all those things. So technically, all of the things, the database management system, the data, and also the application, they are reside in the web server, sometimes different machines, sometimes together. But all the different devices we have, phone, tablet, I don't know, laptop, they are all connected through the web to this system. So technically, they are sending all the documents to the web version, to the internet, and this one then send it to the database server, web server, and just this process, the response request are doing at the same time. So that's also one of the most common version that people these days use. So that AWS, as I mentioned, if you could get a degree on that one, also Google has a Google Cloud, I think, is a degree. So you will be like an expert in this type of architecture. Definitely, again, with the more advanced degree, it's gonna open a lot of opportunity for you to find a job in this area. So, any question? No question? So I again forget to bring my marker, even though I put it in my desk to bring it. I forgot it. So at least we can record what I want to. So the information system in general, again, we mentioned whenever we want to have a business, we should make sure to have like a database for our system. So technically, we should have an information system for our business. The information system technically runs based on the database that you have. Okay. So again, if you are trying to have a store that just sell cupcake, or if you have a multi-billion-dollar companies that selling 200,000 items in your store, still you need to have a database system in order to managing your information. So that's what we call it as an information system. Information system technically reside based on the database. Okay, so we have different type of information system. Okay, based on the level of activity. Okay, so let me open PowerPoint. That one is better. Three. Mhm. Then I'm doing this because I need to run multiple. So this is an organization. Okay, so they have three level of employees. The level three, let's say the lowest level of employee in terms of the hierarchy. Okay, so just a regular employee. The second level are the mid-level manager. Okay, the first level are the highest one, the C-suite level. I don't know, CIO, CEO, CFO, whatever. Okay. So technically, each level in the organization, they are dealing with some level of information system. Okay. This one, TPS, we call it as a transaction processing system. Okay. The other one, MIS, we call it as a management information system, and DSS, decision support system. We will see what does it mean by them. The level three people, example, them they are working in the McDonald's, they are technically they're cashier, they are selling some item to you, at the same time I'm purchasing something, they are getting my card sweep. So technically some transaction are happening. Okay. This transaction technically second by second is happening in whatever businesses, and transaction could be anything. Could be purchasing item, could be selling something, could be I don't know, recording the amount of time that some employer works, could be the amount of inventory for some specific item, whatever transaction that happening in the business. Okay. So those transactions, we have this transaction processing system to record all of those. Technically, the level 3 people in the organization, those lower level employee, they are dealing with this system. They are recording whatever transaction in the business. Okay. So then this yeah. So this level creates some data, some transaction. Okay. Then the level 3 people, the information they collect and also analyze, it's gonna be a food for the level 2 people. So those level 3 people, they collect the information, they try to analyze it, and based on the analyze, they will give some report to the second level people, to those mid-level people in the company. Okay, so those people, the data set now they call it as a management information system, or MIS. So technically it's a bunch of report, bunch of graphs based on the transactional data that the level 3 people had it. And then these people, the level 2 people, start working on it, make it better in terms of the output, in terms of the analysis. Maybe they are trying to predict something based on the whatever I mentioned, data analyst, data scientist, and give that one to the food for as a food for the third level people, which they call it as a decision support system database. So technically in that level, they are making strategic decision for the company. Okay. So this is a 3 different level of the database and information system in business. The first one, again, transaction processing system. So again, collecting whatever happening at the moment in the company, do the analysis, give it that one to the second level people. Second level people analyze those. They call it management information system. After analyzing those, give it to the first level people. That first level people, according to those, they make it, for example, 10 years strategic plan according to that's why they call it decision support system. Okay. Have you ever watched the movie Margin Call? Have you ever heard about it? Big Short? No, Big Short. So those type of like a they are real, I mean, based on the real story, and especially the Margin Call that happened in 2008. The story is totally real. The whole story is about the one mortgage company that they just got bankrupt back then. But the point is, some of those second level people, they found, but they found it late, that something in the last 2 weeks has happened in the company, and the company technically now it's totally crashed, it's totally bankrupt. And they just, based on the analysis they have on the data, they will find it and then just give the information to this level people, and at 4 a.m. they set up a meeting, urgent meeting for the whole business. It's especially Kevin Spacey played in that movie. I liked it. So the DSS level people, the guy, the main CEO, the biggest guy, would come to the session and ask what's happening, and some guys start talking in very scientific way, And the guy would say, just explain in a simple English. And the guy say, okay, something happened and we are almost done. And the guy would come to the meeting and would say, do you know why I'm having the highest pay in the organization? Why I'm having the highest payment in the organization? And the guy say, why? And the guy say, I am here just for only one reason, to hear the music of this business. And all I am hearing right now is just the silence. The music has been stopped. So these people, technically, based on whatever experience they have, they are not going to deal with the very detail. According to the report they will receive, they take a risk and make the biggest decision in their company. So that's how the system works. So again, these three level, again, TPS, MIS, DSS, as we mentioned, the TPS, again, just for a recap, they are based on the daily activities, whatever transaction happening at the moment, and they are capturing transaction, present detailed information. Then give this one to the second level people, the MIS people. They would again manage it, try to have some good reports out of those, and then they will give it to the third level, the decision support system, which they technically make a strategic decision. Okay, so according to these three different levels, we will have two different databases in the system. Okay, the first one, we call it as an online transactional processing, OLTP. The second one, online analytical processing database. Okay, so technically, the first two, this one and this one, the MIS and the TPS, the report, the outcome will be an online transactional processing database, okay? Which the first, the second, the third level, and the second level, the lowest level, and also the mid-level people, they use this one. But the biggest group, those people that make a strategic decision, that they are working on based on the decision support system in order to make a strategic decision, they will use the online analytical processing, which means the outcome of this TPS and MIS, the analysis that they do on the database, the outcome will be a new database. The new database is the pure reports, summaries, everything. They consider it as an online analytical processing. So those mid-level and the lower level, they use the online transactional system. This one, the third group, using the online analytical process. Again, just these OLTP, OLAP, OLTP, they are absolutely just each could be a different courses to learn. What we are learning right now, just try to understand in general what does it mean by this term and try to a little understand the term. So let me play this video for you. It could be a interesting video to watch.
And OLTP are often confused with one another. So what's the difference? Analytical and transaction, as in online analytical processing and online transaction processing. That's it. That's the difference. But hold up, don't just yet. 3 boxes to fill, because when it comes to using data to make smarter decisions, it's not a question of choosing between OLAP and OLTP. It's a question of how to make the best use of both in your situation. Within the data science field, OLAP and OLTP are 2 types of data processing systems. One uses data to gain valuable insights, other to be operational. Let's start by defining OLAP.
So technically, those operational is the OLTP, again, the third level and the mid-level values. But the other one, which is the analytical one, is the one that people make a strategy decision based on those.
Number 9, analytical processing. And it's a system for performing multi-dimensional analysis at high speeds on large volumes of data. And where do these volumes of data come from? Typically from a data warehouse, a data mart, or some centralized data store.
We will talk about the data warehouse and data mart just after this one.
OLAP is ideal for tasks such as data mining, business intelligence, and complex analytical calculations. It's also well suited to business reporting functions like financial analysis, budgeting, and forecasting. Core of most OLAP databases is the OLAP cube. Beautiful, isn't it? The OLAP cube allows you to quickly query, report on, and analyze this multi-dimensional data. What is a data dimension? Well, it's simply one element of the data set. So, for example, sales figures might have several dimensions related to region, time of year, and product models. The OLAP cube extends the row by column format of traditional relational database schema and adds layers. So, for example, while the top layer of the cube might organize sales by region, data analysts can also drill down into layers of sales by state or city or a specific store. So that's OLAP. What about OLT? That's online processing, and it enables the real-time execution of large numbers of database transactions by large numbers of people. OLTP systems are behind many of our everyday transactions, from ATMs to in-store purchases to reservations. OLTP can also drive non-financial transactions, including password changes and custom. OLTP systems use a relational database that can do a bunch of things. For example, process a large number of transactions.
One of the main differences between these two is again based on the database system as well. So the OLTP, those operational, those transactional, technically they are just using the standard SQL. We'll talk about the standard SQL. But the analytic, because there will be various version of the reports, graphs, maybe video reports, maybe a different type of mathematical reports. So the versions are different. That's why the database itself is a little complicated. It's not just the normal, regular SQL code. So we'll see them later in detail. So just for us to understand at this point, just make sure to understand those three levels, people that work in the company, the lower level, mid-level, and the higher level, and the way that they manage the information system. The lower level and the mid-level, they are dealing with the TPS, Transactional Processing System, and also MIS, Management Information System. And as we mentioned that the TPS give a foot to the MIS, MIS give a foot to the DSS, which is the level that people work in the C-suite level to make a strategic decision. So according to these two, we need to understand also two other concepts: data mining, data warehousing. Again, data mining, it's totally different course. Data warehousing, the same. But here we are just going to learn in 2 slides what does it mean by data mining. So data mining technically is the, let's say, knowledge, is the skill that you can just dig into the data and see what's going on. Okay? The thing that I did, I downloaded the 300,000 tweets, and then through the data, I start to clean the data, try to run some machine learning technique. One of them was topic modeling. Topic modeling, it means I wanted to see what was the people discussion during that specific event, okay? So technically, I was trying to analyze data. What I was doing was data mining, okay? So technically understanding what's going on in data. Or we have another student that defended 1 year before me. So she collected 1 million email of the phishing email, okay? And then started working on those emails, those texts, to understand the patterns of the phishing email. It is interesting because you can predict based on the data they have. She went through it and tried to understand what's going on in the phishing email. And we all know what is a phishing email, am I right? Yes? So that's the type of that people do. Or the example that I mentioned Monday, when you just search Ray-Ban glass on your browser, and you will see the Ray-Ban example advertisement on your Instagram or whatever application that you're using. So that's like a digital marketing. So people use those data, analyze those data to offer something to the user, okay? So that would be considered as a data mining. Again, it's totally different course. There are a lot of techniques for the data mining. But data warehouse. Data warehousing technically is related to the OLAP, to the analytical process. Okay, so this is the way that we technically run a data warehousing. But how the system works? There is some source data, there is some process on it. Those process would divide data based on the characteristic of each data to the different data marts, okay? But let's start from the first one. I have organization and I want to analyze the data. First of all, why here the source of data could be the internal, also could be the external purchase data? Do you have any idea why we need to have also external purchase data? I am creating product A, and I have to know, for example, a couple of other companies that create the product A, or for example, some products similar to the A. So I have to purchase those data as well in order to analyze for myself, in order to understand what people are doing in the business, okay? So technically, there are some data that generally created internally, and also there is option for us based on our need to purchase also some external data, and then through the process that we call it as a ETL, extract, transform, load. In this process, they will go through the data and try to clean it as much as possible. This is a real number. 80% of the data analyst and data scientist job is to just cleaning the data. Cleaning data matters a lot. As long as you have more cleaner data, you will have a definitely better outcome for your business, okay? And then here, after it, according to the, again, characteristic of the data, some data could be good for the sales department. Some data could be good for the production department. Some data could be good for the finance department. Some data could be good for X department. So according to those, each data will stored into the different section, which we call it as a data mart. That's it. That's the whole process of the data warehousing. Again, data warehousing itself is a master course. So there are a lot of techniques. Have you ever heard about the Hadoop, Apache? There are all different techniques and software that are available in order to do the data warehousing, in order to analyze data. So just imagine you have bunch of data on the ground. You don't know what are those. Some people would go and dig into those and try to categorize them based on the similarity. These are similar together, let's put it in one data mart. These are similar together, let's put it in one data mart. So then you will have a multiple data mart So technically, whatever you are just doing is to just cleaning the data in order to analyze it, in order to run the online analytical processing, in order to have some food for making a strategic decision. You see, that's the main reason of the data mining, data warehouse, to just give us some food to start some strategical decision, make some strategical decision. So at the end of the day, make money for the business, to keep the business run. That's the whole nature of the data warehousing, data mining. So if I want to ask one of you, random, just in one sentence, explain data mining and data warehousing to me, who is going to do that? When you laugh, which means you are going to do data mining. Yeah. Oh. Finding patterns. Yeah, that's also another nice categorization. Yeah, why not? So technically, again, by data mining, we are digging into data. What's happening? What's going on? If I can find something. And definitely the MIS people, the TPS people, level 2, level 3, they are using that one. The data warehousing, technically, they are for the higher purpose, in order to categorize data and do the analysis on it for making some strategic decision based on the OLAP. So if I want to show this one again, the categorization, the transaction processing system, the managing information system, these two technically are dealing with the level 3, level 2, and at the same time dealing in the data mining level. Okay, but the analysis that they do here, so it's gonna create a decision, create a food for the making decision, strategy for the higher level people, and at the same time, the way that they handle the database, it's going to go through the data warehousing. So type of like a career opportunity for you when you are dealing with databases. So there are some jobs that definitely require advanced level of understanding a database. Some of them, just medium level is enough. As an example, if you are supposed to work as a data analyst, you should be definitely very, very expert in a database system. Different database system. MySQL, Oracle, I don't know, a SQL Server, different one. And you have to have a good understanding of those. But for example, if you are dealing if you are working as a sales manager, you just need to understand what is the database, what is the tables, what are the reports. That's enough for you. So the level that you are working, it could be the different. Or for example, the data warehouse engineer, this one, that's a hell of a job. I mean, you make 200, 300K per year just by this type of job. But for sure, you have the very, very good knowledgeable people in the database system. So which one do you think it's more interesting to work? Which one you would maybe consider one day? Which one? Which one? Which job title you are expecting? Project manager? Have you heard of the PMP? You have PMP? You have PMP? Why you are here? It's a hell of a degree, and it's hard to get. Congratulations. Okay, nice, nice. Which one you are interested in these job titles? Which one? cloud. Oh, okay, quality insurance. Okay. Do you know about it? No. Okay, interesting. I also don't know that much about it. Otherwise, have you ever thought to be like a software developer? Yes, you. I like that one. Okay. So in that one, again, we have like a two level, backend people, front end people, or if you want to be like a full stack, working both sides, that would be a good one. I like that one as well. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I forgot to add the data scientist here. Data scientist also is the one that so interesting. That one to me is sexy enough to understand to work on it. It's so cool, the data scientist. Any question? Are you ready for the next week to start the SQL coding? Yes? Good. So just again, for the first chapter, quick recap, we try to understand why the database is necessary. And technically database is there. We just try to understand why database matters. And again, based on the different databases system that we have, different level of analysis, and also different type of also at the same time system architecture based on different level of databases. So by next week, we will start learning the SQL coding in chapter 2, and it's gonna be fun. If you don't have any question, let me stop the recording.